I'm trying to get it to angle just right. Oh my god. Maybe because sometimes I have it turned kind of in like that. There it goes. It's the best I can get it. It's going to be crooked. But anyway, I just want to say hi, good morning. I'm talking about the BL series. The ending, oh my god, it's so sad. No more. It's the last episode of A Tale of a Thousand Stars. So, where last left, when he left this last episode, he leaves the village. It's a very sad goodbye because, all the kids are going to miss him. Everybody in the village kind of like have adapted to him and they don't want him to go. But he has to go because his father and his mother wants him to come back to Thailand, back to his home now, or back to the city life and back to the, you know, tales of the rich and the famous. And so he goes home and he gets back in the groove of things back there, but he's still, pawning over the chief, Pupa. And so eventually he's always thinking that Pupa's going to write him a letter, but he never does because of whatever's going on with him, but he doesn't write him a letter. And then he gets a letter from, remember that doctor that was best friends with the chief? He gets a wedding invitation from him, but he shows up at the wedding, but the chief is there, but he doesn't want him to see, he doesn't want to see him for whatever reason. And so he goes back home after the wedding and he's trying to figure out what to do with his life. He just doesn't quite seem to know what his niche is. And so he's hanging out with one of his friends. His friend's like, why don't you just get your engineering degree? You're going to take over the family business one day anyway. And he's like, well, that's not my dream. That's not what I really want to do. And then, so they were trying to figure that out. And then he just still relating his time back at the village. And he decides to tell his mom that he doesn't want to be an engineer, that he really wants to be a school teacher. And his mom was like, a school teacher? That just kind of threw her off. And so she was just okay, this is what you want to do. So she went and found him, got him enrolled in a school in the United States of America. Living in America. Living in America. Oh, sorry. And so, anyway, he writes a letter to the chief saying, hey, I'm on my way to go to school, but it's going to be out of the country, even further away. So, this is what I'm going to be, where I'm going. If you want to see me, this is our last chance to see each other. I won't be able to write you a letter all the way from America. So, come if you can, whatever. So he gets to the day where he's leaving on the airport and he's saying his goodbyes to his best friend and his mom and his dad. And he's looking around, looking for the chief, but there's no chief in sight. So he kind of, feels sunken hearted about it. And he's like, well, whatever, I got to go get on this flight. So he goes to walk away, and then sure enough, the chief shows up, and they're just gazing into each other's eyes, all dreamy, and that's when it gets all mushy and everything. And so after all of this time, he does, show up to support him going back to school, and he asked the chief, hey, will you wait for me? Are you sure about this? And he says, yeah, I'm sure, I love you, blah, 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 blah. It's all mushy. And so they're an item. And then the mom and dad is looking at, the dad knows, but the mom didn't. So she's like, who is that guy? And dad was like, oh, that was the guy who took care of him while he was all the way over there. And so the friend kind of figured it out because he knew. And then they were hugged and he kissed him on the forehead. So I was just like, the forehead kiss, really? That's so high. That's so elementary school. It's like what your mom does to you, But anyway, went along with that. And then so finally he goes to school. And then he makes his way back to Thailand. To the village in Thailand. And that's when they're up on the cliff again. I skipped over all the other stuff because it was just kind of showing life at the village and how it had changed and everything. It says, how are you doing today, Miss Mermaid? Somebody's sending me messages. I don't know who all these people are. But it goes on, and they're at the top of the cliff, and they finally embrace each other, hugging, and then finally Pupa kisses him, and that's how it ends. Like, it goes off with the kiss. It was the one kiss out of the whole entire series. I can tell you that it was so refreshing and so nice and so pleasant. I can't say that I'm really happy with the way the story is written towards the end, because he leaves the village and he has to go back home and kind of amends, do what his parents wants him to do or whatever. Like, it didn't make a whole lot of sense because technically he's an adult. Like, he can do whatever the hell he wants, but whoever wrote this wrote it that way, so I just kind of went along with it. But I really didn't care for the way it's written, because it's like he needs to get his life together to do what? Like, he wants to be with that man. Like, he's happy in that damn remote village. Being rich and having maids and chauffeurs and shit didn't mean much to him after going through a whole heart transplant. Like, Tofan's life really changed his life in the right direction and put him on a path into education. So I guess if he wanted to really be a legitimate teacher, he needed to go to school. But he just went to school in Thailand or somewhere near that school or near that village. Like, he could have commuted or whatever. Like, I just don't get why you had to go all the way to the United States. And they don't even show it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I'm not the writer of the book. Y'all have to ask him why he wrote that in there like that. And so I don't know if going to the United States is a status thing for Thai people. I know it's good to know another language in any culture. Some people don't believe in that in this country. They just believe English is the number one language. But, for me, I think knowing a couple of languages is really good. It broadens your horizon and it allows you to meet other people who are not like yourself. And so that was the ending of A Tale of a Thousand Stars. And I'm going to miss it. I will revisit that one again on a rainy day, because it's very a very telling story. And then I like, because when he could never get to the 1,000 star, the chief finally tells him at the end before they kiss and everything that he is the 1,000 star for him. And because, Tofan's 1,000 star wish was for the chief to fall in love and open up himself up to anybody or somebody, since it's not, wasn't going to be her. She just wanted him to be happy because she loved him that much. And that was her one wish. And so she got her whole entire destiny completed through giving her heart and her life to this boy. Which is really, it's just a selfless, innocent story. It's very beautiful. I've never heard of anything like this before, so I really like that portion of A Tale. Just the ending was a little bit weird. Like, I just feel like he got bored or something. I don't know. Like, the ending was kind of strange. Not the ending, but the part where he has to go to America. I was just like, really, like, that threw me off. But then, when he gets back and they finally get back to the cliff, up and down cliff, and they're up there embracing each other, then it kind of pulled it all back together for me. I didn't care for the whole part where he had to go to, like, his mom wanted him to go to school in America. And I was just like, okay, so maybe because they're rich, it's a status thing. Like, I don't really get it. But like I said, I'm not the book writer. I'm just following along with the story. And I'm going to miss it because I wish it was longer. It was a very long series. It went from last year to this year, so it was really good. Tuning into that every Friday. And now there's a whole bunch of new series popping up are coming out. I don't know how good they're going to be, but I'll be tuning in to the ones that catch my eye, that I think they're worth talking about. If you guys aren't following GMMTV Thailand, it's on YouTube. You just subscribe. You have to turn on your English translations if you don't speak the Thai language or any of the Thai dialects, because You have to kind of know a little bit of Thai, and if you're not gonna, read the subtitles. I've been following it so long, so I know some Thai words like, greetings, hellos, goodbyes, house, car, water. Just know a little bit because I still study it a little bit. I've been studying it this year because of all of everything that's going on with COVID-19 around these parts of town. My brain is like mush. Like I can't attain anything at the moment, but I'll get back to it, I'm sure, at some point because I'm still watching Thai TV, and probably 90% of my television is Thai. Other 10% is news and cartoons, like Family Guy and American Dad and a couple of others. And so I still watch all of that, when I'm not watching Thai stuff. But yeah, like I said, like I said, my brain is kind of mush at the moment, so I'm not really trying to study any languages or anything. I've really completely forgotten Spanish. Like I don't know anything in Spanish anymore because I haven't been watching any telenovelas or any Spanish TV. Only one I used to just really follow, and that was on Facebook. But now that I'm on TikTok, there's all kinds of people on TikTok. TikTok is weird. I still don't understand it. Like people just get on there and blurt out all kinds of crazy, and they don't seem to care what they say. They just say whatever just for the Insta clicks. And I understand, like with TikTok, the more people following you, once you hit, 1 million views or more, you get sponsors. So people start sponsoring you, like advertisement sponsors come in and they offer you, money to post on their spot. So then that's your little side hustle. So I get that. But then I think, okay, you could be using your platform for something positive because we're living in some very treacherous times. Kids are being born into this whole pandemic, and you got people out there who just don't care. They're just going on with their daily lives. They're posting all kinds of insane stuff, and I'm like, my God, they can never talk about me because, child, I know I can do some crazy things, but I know what I'm doing and what I'm doing it for. And some people, I don't know, like I don't get it. Like, they'll say some off the collar stuff, and I don't know what you don't know what it's for because, with TikTok, it's just like a little clip, it's not that long. And they don't explain themselves fully. There's a lot of kids that are angry, like they come on and express their anger. And it's almost like you feel bad for them, but it's like, it's also, you don't understand what their whole context of their anger is about. And a whole lot of racial stuff that I never even had to think about. Like I just don't even have room in my head for some of the stuff, local stuff that's going on because, you don't understand it. Like I don't know all native cultures, and you know how many native tribes there is in the United States alone, not to mention like when you start going into South America and places like that, Mexico, there's all kinds of indigenous tribes on this planet, and you're like trying to figure out, well, what tribe is this, or what native part of this you're talking. Like it's not just one native tribe, there's many. And so you're claiming your culture, but you're also not explaining it in detail because I'm like, what are they talking, like what are they talking about, and where is this? Is this in Oklahoma or New York, or what part of your territory do you live in and that you're claiming? And they have this like really intense music in the background playing, so it's almost like they want to come and beat you up through the TV, and it's like, well, I haven't done anything new, so I don't know what you're talking about. That ain't my gig. Like, when I talk about my life, I really don't talk about, African American because there's a zillion people talking about it, and we're not a monolith, so it's no sense in me even having a voice on that because the majority of black people ain't gonna listen to somebody like me anyway. I already know what time it is. If your own folks ain't trying to listen to you, know ain't no strange black folks that you don't know ain't gonna listen to you. So ain't no sense in me going there with that. I do talk about, you know, my life and my time at Disney a lot because I think that's where I really found my true self, my connection with out feeling suicidal and trying to make a change, and then how my boss got involved. And it's my story, like it has nothing to do with anybody else. And there was nobody else around, so why should I include Marsha P. Johnson or some of these other people, like, you know, Laverne Cox? I don't know them. And they didn't walk in the shoes that I walk in. They're walking very different shoes. So um, the only thing we have in similarities is that we're all born, you know, the same thing with a dysphoria, and that's it. Other than that, her story ain't got nothing to do with me. Marsha P. Johnson, she might have opened doors for all the LGBT people, but it wasn't just trans people. It was that everybody under the umbrella who she was fighting for in San Francisco. That didn't stop the, you know, people in all these other places from their hardships. That's like almost devaluing everybody else's existence just to give prop somebody else up. That's the problem with, I think, a lot of times in these, you know, in this USA, that we have to prop people up to make ourselves feel good or look good or something like that, instead of looking at communities and what communities are doing and people trying to unite in their togetherness, as opposed to just there can only be one this or one that. It's like life doesn't work that way, because there's no way I can know every single person on the planet. Like that's not going to happen. Now we can bump into so many people in our lives if we allow ourselves to, but you know, looking at someone on, you know, TikTok or Facebook or YouTube is not, you know, gonna do anything for me. It doesn't put money in my pocket. You know, you're telling your business, and you're telling it in such a way that, you know, it doesn't make me want to listen to it, because I'm like, well, okay, I'm listening to you and giving you a like, but you're not even giving me a chance to hear my story. And I always like block almost 90% of the stuff that I put up gets blocked anyway. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to put a whole lot of energy into, because I put a whole lot of energy into YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It doesn't seem to be a side hustle for somebody like me. And I always say it's your look. If you're young, if you're pretty, if you look a certain race, or you look biracial or something like that, well, it depends. You know, if you have really nice features or whatever, then people are more willing to jump on you and listen to you, because they're fetishizing you anyway. I don't want to be fetishized. I just think that's really part of my story that I don't even talk about, because I know what what happened to me in my life and how young I was and who was doing what with me. I was too naive to understand it, so I don't even talk about it. I block it. It's something I have to block out of my mind. And these were supposed to be my friends and stuff like that. And it was some guys that were in and out of my life, but they, you know, they fetishized and fantasized and listened, you know, to my voice and all this kind of shit. Did some very sick shit to me. And then after I realized what they were doing, I was confused. Like, it just made me feel very confused why somebody would treat me like that. And if I was to tell people about this, because I look like the way I look, I'm not that beauty queen. I'm not that girl that people want to hear and listen to and feel passionate about. It has to be some old, you know, you almost have to look like an alien on a planet, you know, and have some white skin, or, you know, almost look pure white, or look like you're mixed or something. Then people they have more of a value to listen to it. But if you look a certain way, like if you look dark like me and big and chunky and all that, people don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. They don't care. And that's okay, because I know that there's a higher being that is with me at all times, and that higher being is listening. And so, you know, for me, I just hope that it some days, whatever I left behind on digital footprint, it will help some young person, because I know I didn't have anybody growing up to help me with what I was going through, which is a dysphoria. And it sucked. It really did. It sucked. And it doesn't have anything to do with my family or my friend. It was with me and with myself. And if people don't understand that, that's too bad. You can't lump other people, blood related people, into a dysphoria like that, because the person who's having a dysphoria is really focusing on themselves and why they can't be in a body that their brain is telling them that they're in. I don't know how to tell you anything different from that. You got to figure it out for yourself if you really care. Some people don't even care. And so those who don't care won't never understand it. And they will continue to abuse young people, just like you see our legislation is doing here in Arkansas and all these other 22 other states, some of them southern, some of them northern. But they're doing all these anti-trans bills. So it's just going to continue until people get themselves educated and wrap their heads around, what's really going on with these kids and understand that it's a real thing. It's not, something you can turn off. It's not going to turn off because every day you wake up, your brain's going to tell you, hey, I'm a girl, I'm a girl, I'm a girl. And it's going to eat you alive until you do something about it. And a lot of them can't handle it, so they kill themselves. They become suicidal, like me. All of us became suicidal at a very young age because we couldn't deal with the dysphoria, and that was being trapped in a body, being forced to be something that we can't be. And that's I don't know what else to tell people. That's the way it is. That's the way it goes. So until, our government creates more safe spaces, or communities creating safe spaces, these things are going to be tragic. And I hate to say it now in this pandemic, but it looks like we're headed in that direction, because they ain't focusing on the pandemic. They're focusing on anti-trans legislation, which is just picking on children, devaluing the most marginalized child. So wait and see forward. I gotta go because it's almost time for me to go inside. I'll see you later. Bye.